Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's Springbok team announcement versus Portugal reaction. Very, very interesting. And the youngest captain since PSTF the toy, by the way. That's the wrong team. That doesn't help anybody. That is the right team. The youngest captain since PSTF the toy back in 2018 to lead the side. The 66th Springbok captain in Salman Murat. The prodigal son, really, if we're looking at the rise he's had and all the talk about him. He's been dubbed a Springbok captain for years and years and years. And he will lead the side this weekend in what is quite a big call from Rassie Erasmus. So I'm going to put a bit of a poll in the comments and ask you guys, are you happy with the team? Question mark. Simple yes and no or no answer. Go and answer that. Now get in the comments, stuff like that. Let me know what you think of the side. It's a bunch of debuts. Jan-Hendrik Wessels in the starting line getting a debut. Johan Krobelaar in the line getting a debut. And Pesi Buthelezi in the start getting a debut as well as potential debuts in waiting for the likes of Kuhn Horn, Andre Hugo Venter, Ruan Venter, as well as Morne van den Berg. So definitely exploring our depth this weekend. There's no doubt about that. And that for me is very exciting. And I think is a reason for that we should all be excited about this. So let's get into it, shall we? And then we can sort of discuss, where this is quite interesting. There's also an injury update, by the way. Not a particularly good one. PSF the toy, Franco Master, Adel van der Merwe, all out for about 6 weeks at least. Although PSF the toy could be 4, but definitely out for the Australia side. But a bit of a rush to maybe see him if we can get back to the All Blacks for the All Blacks test. So it's an interesting side, and I think that we're going to see a lot of players put their hands up this weekend for potential inclusion moving forward as well. So lots to get through here. Now let's just start with going through the line, shall we? So Jan-Hendrik Wessels for me I actually think that's a stranger or interesting, I suppose, is the nice way of putting it, a selection than Salman Murat as captain, for example. I mean, Salman Murat is someone who's, as I said, been highly rated throughout the systems. He led the junior boxers, led SA schools, this current Storm as captain. He's played more rugby this season. He has been plagued by injuries. So, that's something, and I think, he's not a flashy player. I think, as big as he is, and he is very big, by the way, you just meet him in person, you see the size of him. But he's not necessarily as imposing as Etzebeth, because nobody's as imposing as him and Etzebeth, to be perfectly honest. So a bit of a different type of player, but a hard worker. And the interesting thing is, and that's what Rassie Erasmus alluded to, commands respect in all the environments, for example. So he's obviously someone who, is very much a natural leader when he's inside an environment. Obviously, either takes charge or people are very quick to listen to him. So that's something that we can't deny, given the fact that he's got this sort of record. But he hasn't played as much rugby as he probably would have liked since making his debut back in, I think it was 2018. So it's, if you look at the fact that he's played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, he's played 48 matches for the Stormers. So it's not ideal because, he's somebody who should have played a lot more. And he's playing a 7th game for the Springboks. He's played less than 3,000 minutes of rugby. And that's largely because obviously COVID, there wasn't a lot of rugby to play, to be fair to him. And then was largely injured in 21-22 as well as 22-23. Last season played very, very little for the Stormers. He has been back and playing a bit more this season. He ended up playing 689 minutes. So it was good to see him back, and obviously is the Stormers captain. But he is somebody that a lot of people sort of question, he keeps getting into box squads, for example. He keeps being around the fringes. And some people have been sort of sitting there saying, how? So obviously I think he's somebody that's highly rated. And that's an interesting one to sort of segue into the Jan-Hendrik Wessels chat, because this is a guy who has played less than 30 professional matches in his career and has not played loosehead, basically, almost ever, I don't think. In his professional career, he has been if you looked at his starts, for example, he's played at hooker. Almost all his starts this season has been at hooker. If not, he's been coming off the bench in the number 16 jersey, same as last season. So you've got a very interesting contrast where Jake White sees him as a hooker, and I think Rassie Erasmus sees him more as a loose head. And I think Rassie Erasmus, he says he can't influence the way that the Bulls play and how they play and where they play their players. Because obviously they must do what they want to do. But I think he's been quite frustrated at the fact that Jan-Hendrik Wessels has not been playing at Lucet. So it's an interesting one, that. So that for me is a bit of a strange selection. Jan Kovalar, well, that's been, it's about time. It really is. He's very highly rated by Rassie Erasmus. They know him as hobbies. He's been around that squad. I think he was very lucky. He got injured at the wrong time a couple of years ago, or else he would have made his debut a while back. But so that's very much deserved. And he is the third choice hooker as per Rassie Erasmus. I was wondering if you might see Malcolm Mark on the bench, just to try and get a bit more game time and going into that Australia test at the same time. I suppose, he's back and he's played 2 weeks, and body probably wouldn't have been used to rugby, so he can now have 2 weeks of maybe a bit more fitness, for example, kind of get himself into prime condition for the Rugby Championship. The two lock, and then Thomas Toy starting, it was either going to be Thomas Toy, Trevor Nikani, and whoever wasn't going to start was going to be on the bench, because they are the only other tight heads in the squad who haven't had game time after Frans Maherba and Vincent Koch. They didn't bring Neetlin Verscheer back into the squad, so they were always going to play. I don't think that's too surprising. If we look at the bench boys, I'm not the bench, the rest of the pack, basically with Lazy on debut, so good to see him there, and I think also, kind of a matter of time. Very talented player, very talented leader, and I think it's taken a bit longer to maybe get to the level that we can't expect him to be at. We watched him at schoolboy level, and I think watching him especially at the younger years, because he came through very early, you could always see the talent there, but I think needed to mature quite literally, quite physically. He is a lot bigger than he was when he first came onto it, a bit heavier, packs a bit more of a punch. He's still probably as athletic. He's quicker around the park, but I think he packs a bit more of a punch and is a bit more physical. And I think that's probably what he needed to do before becoming a test player, which he will become this weekend. And that's going to be really cool to see how he goes. So I think that he's been someone who's been very desperate for game time. We then look at Ben Jason Dixon, who, given the fact that, as I mentioned, Peter Step the Toy in a race against time for that All Blacks test, I think it's a massive test ahead for him, because also, in the past we've seen Franco Mossa playing at 7. I don't think we'll really go back to that, but we haven't really seen too many other players given an opportunity in the number 7 jersey. Albert Lowe's played there against Wales a couple of years ago, but generally it's been Peter Step the Toy, maybe Kwaka Smith every now and again. But I think that Ben Jason Dixon is in the exact same mold as Peter Step the Toy. I'm a massive fan of him. I think he's very physical. He gets to do a lot of work rate, very dominant in his tackling, for example. And I think that he is the natural replacement. So if he goes well this weekend, I think we could see him again against Australia. I think he was made for test match rugby. It's somebody who's taken a bit of time to sort of come through the system and get to the sort of the form he's showing now. Not necessarily the youngest player, but not old by any means. I mean, he'll make the next another 2 World Cups probably. But we're not talking about a 22-year-old in Ben Jason Dixon. He's 26, so it took him some time to sort of get through and really start to play the rugby that's now earning that call-up. And then Evan Lewis gets a big opportunity this weekend. Yes, it's against Portugal, although I don't think we should be dismissing Portugal. I mean, they beat Fiji last season. A team that has got nothing to lose, everything to gain. I think that's a very, very dangerous thing to try and underestimate Portugal. So I think everyone's got another opportunity to try and put his hand in the mix. I don't think he's really impressed so far. I don't think he's really impressed the coaching staff in the couple of games he's had. So an opportunity for him to potentially do that. Kubas starts at 9. Maybe probably the selection I'm sort of maybe the least sort of fan of. I think that Kubas Reinach, and this is going to be very, very unpopular, because I know a lot of people are big Kubas Reinach fans, but we're talking about a player who is 34 years old in a position where we have incredible depth. We've got Pap de Klerk in the squad at the moment, Grant Williams, Morne van den Berg, Kubas Reinach, as well as Jaden Hendricks are injured. Before you even look at a Sanera Nahamba, for example, who was URC Player of the Year, yes, he played at some at 10 and at 9. Ambrose Papier, who has been playing some brilliant rugby. I've really enjoyed what I've seen from Ambrose Papier. You've got players like, on his day, Hershey Yankees was obviously back in the squad. Paul De Vest starting to come through. I think that Nico Steyn, the young scrum off for Lions, is a very good player. So, scrum off is a position that we got so much depth. We took forward to the World Cup for that reason. And I think that Grant Williams is probably the future. So it kind of surprised me a little bit that, obviously you still want the experience of certain players to bring that experience to this team. But I think he's somebody him and I think Trevor Nakanya are probably sort of quite high on the list of players that probably will get phased out relatively quickly in the next couple of years, because I mean they can probably make another World Cup. I don't know if they do. But Monty Levi back at 10, another big opportunity for him. You know, a lot of people talking about the fact that with this Tony Brown system, you know, we are trying to play a different type of brand, for example, of rugby, and it does maybe suit Monty Levi a bit more than it suits Andre Pollard. So an opportunity for him. Yes, it's against Portugal, but you know, you go and put in a massive shift man of the match. You kick well, for example, for Poles, and I think Monty Levi puts himself back on the radar as your potential first choice 10. So an opportunity for him to have a go. The rest of the backline's pretty straightforward, really. Ed van der Merwe is injured, so otherwise I think he would have started ahead of Kirtley. But Pimpy hasn't been given a game, so he'll be there. Andre Esthuizen, Lekanya. I mean, I'll go through the comments now. People are asking why is Lekanya there. Very, very weird chat for me, considering what he's done in the Springbok jersey of the past. And for me, starting to look much better towards the Sharks at the back end of the season. You know, we've got Henk van Wyk, who's currently injured, for example, as a 13 option. So I definitely think you're going to give Lekanya every opportunity you can to get back to being, at one stage, the best player on the planet. I think he genuinely was. If you go back 2 years ago, I think he was playing some of the best rugby of anybody out there. He's 30 years old. He's not old, so he's got time in it as well. So yeah, up in the past, getting another opportunity at 15. And then the bench is interesting. You know, Andre Hugo Venter is quite highly rated. He gets another opportunity. Instugo going to be added to the squad, you know, kind of indicates he was going to get the chance. Ruan Venter, by the way, is a bit of a surprise selection. He was only called into the squad yesterday. He's been part of a lineman camp, so he's very much tipped for the future. But injuries, as mentioned, Sean Klein out, Lutiaga out, Franco Martin out, now PSF to Toy out. Those are all players and positions Ruan Venter can play. Ruan Venter on the bench is covering lock, in theory, if you look at the number 19 jersey. Whether he'll come on at lock, whether they see him at lock, I'm not sure. But covers lock as well as flank. And so first of all, he's got that versatility, and he's a proper dominant player. Incredibly talented. I think he's the youngest player in this 23. Him and Sashfam Gomezulu, I'm pretty sure, are the same age. So very exciting player there. Albert Lowe, after a stellar season, get another opportunity. Morne van den Berg, I think that he and Grant Williams are two sort of future nines, to be perfectly honest. Hendrickson, I think, might have a bit of an issue getting back into the squad. I think he'll need to play a bit more rugby and obviously get back to full fitness. He's been out for a while. But I think that at the moment, you look at future-wise, I think Morne van den Berg and Grant Williams are your two leading candidates. From what I've seen in training, I think that that Morne van den Berg has a massive ceiling. And then Koen Horn as well. Another great season. Sashfam Gomezulu will probably get some minutes 10. You know, more to the point is that he's going to play his fourth test. So he's going to keep coming on, keep getting minutes, keep building that experience. And I think that it's important for him to be able to come onto an environment, whether he's coming on at 12, to have a Lekanya outside of him. If he's coming on at 10, for example, to have Kubas Ranak on the inside maybe, and Andre Esthuizen on the other side. And even if there's Morne van den Berg comes in, you've got Andre Esthuizen, somebody who's experienced, been around the block, sort of calmed down. Even playing at 15, you've got a Pimpy on one side, you've got a Kirtley Orange, you've got Lekanya in the midfield. So I think it's a very good environment for Sashfam Gomezulu to just keep getting minutes. That's what's so important. He just needs to play more so that he can adapt to test rugby. Let's go to the comments, shall we? Edward's saying, why not start with Sasha? Jordan saying, very keen to see these guys play, giving youngsters opportunity. Steely says, Lekanya and Tank have a lot more caps than Murat. Why is he captaining the team? First of all, when it comes to the captaincy, Rassie Erasmus never really goes with a backline captain. Lekanya was the obvious candidate, but they generally don't go with backline players captain. They want the captain to be close to the referee, to in the scrum, for example, as a forward. I don't think Thomas Satoy. I don't know. I mean, you could have gone with Thomas Satoy, but I think that the Solomon Murat is someone that they view Solomon Murat as a future captain. I think if you look at the time after Steer Khaleesi, you know, you've got your Evan Etzebeth, for example, who could still be around, Peter Steph Satoy, but your next generation, in terms of people they see as captain, Solomon Murat is the one who's been titled for a long time. And so, yeah, I mean, he just played 6 caps, so it's an incredible story for him. Let's see how he goes. You know, I'm not gonna chastise the guy until he gets a go. Brian said, Daniel Vessel has loads of talent. Maybe the boss can unlock his potential. Jordan saying, played at one this past weekend. True. I actually missed the game, but was back and started at Lucid, so I can't tell you he played. But yeah, that is a point. He just did play a game. They probably has a couple of Curry Cup games actually at Lucid, I think, now that I think about it. The stats I was looking at is all based on URC and sort of international competitions. Yeah, I'm saying why he bring nothing to the team just apart from a World Cup winning. I mean, yeah, I said Lekanya took a while after his knee injury to get back to fitness. You kind of generally do, but I think he was starting to look much better towards the back end of the season before that injury, just before the playoffs. And he's a special player. It's not long ago that it's not just the World Cup. You go back 2 years ago, the off-road threw against New Zealand to put in, I think it's David Delendy who scored in the end, that round the back pass, for example. I mean, he's an absolute world-class player. It's weird how now we're going to bid him, for example, just because Jesse Creel in. Mine is saying both superior players can also play lock if we need. You're true, just not really in the squad at the moment. I'm Zodiac saying would have liked to see Ethan Hooker. We need to build these players for the next World Cup. Yeah, we've got 4 years to do that. Like Andre Esterhuizen makes the next World Cup, by the way, from an age point of view. He's not 35 years old. He is 30. So Andre Esterhuizen could be our starting inside centre for the next World Cup. Yeah, 34 years old, which wouldn't be that old. So yeah, I think Ethan Hooker is somebody and I think the fact that Ethan Hooker's played one season for the Sharks. He is 21 years old, I think, still, or maybe 22. Yeah, 21 years old. It's so much time to get him into a Bach jersey. The fact of the matter is, he made his debut, I think it was last year, and he's already been in a Bach squad. So it's an interesting one to see how they sort of managed to bring him in. But I think the fact he's been called up obviously means he's pretty much on the radar, and I think that's the main thing. Johan's saying Portugal will lose against any of our varsity teams. We must not get fooled. Yeah, listen, that reeks of we've got the best schoolboys in the world, and then we've been losing in the under-20 championships. I can tell you right now that Portugal would beat some of our varsity cup. Probably be our varsity cup teams. I think that's very, very dismissive of a side that beat Fiji last year. By the way, Fiji got to the quarterfinals. Fiji beat Australia, and then Portugal beat Fiji. So this, you've probably never watched Fiji before. I mean, Portugal, but if you've watched 2 games of Portugal, I'll be very impressed. So to dismiss them like that is a hell of a, I think, a little bit disrespectful to a certain degree, and I think a little bit naive to talk about a team that you don't actually know a lot about. Yes, we expect them to play and to beat them, but yeah, to sort of dismiss them and sit there and say that the local varsity team is going to beat them, not entirely sure that would be the case. Mike says, team is solid. I'd have considered blooding Hooker and Hartenberg as we have an aging backline. Also, Ryan, because they're like 34, would like to have seen Williams and Levi get more time together. Yeah, I can agree on the Williams shout. I would like to see them start. James still mentioning the fact that was one of the best 13s in the world. CT still not understanding why Murat is the captain there. To answer your question, why there's no Kane Moody, he's still injured, not quite back yet. So once that is fully fit, I'm sure he'll be back in the mix. Could be making that Australian tour, which would be quite cool. That was where he made his debut 2 years ago on that tour to Australia. So are we going to see him back in action back in Australia? Could very well be the case. Seppo saying. Pierce Fox saying, yes, Portugal, you want the attacking line coming forward. Sepp was saying, someone please explain to you why Grant is not starting, why Nahamba is not in the squad. Nahamba just didn't make the squad, to be perfectly honest. And Pulelo saying, I agree with you on Kubas. John saying, I would have taken a punt and played Grant Williams on the wing instead of Curtly Orange. I did wonder about that, actually. When I was doing my team yesterday, I was like, are we going to see a spanner in the works? Could we see something like that? Maybe Rassie Erasmus going and saying, But I think at the end of the day, that was more for a World Cup situation in terms of being able to take 4 scrum halves and having, how do we make those 4 scrum halves more useful? Can he do a job on the wing? And therefore, can we justify taking 4 scrum halves? Which apparently really helps with the training and stuff like that. So I think that was more sort of a World Cup strategic thing. Whereas when you've got the ability to have 35, 40, 50 players in the squad, you don't really need a scrum half playing on the wing. I think let him focus on being a great scrum half. Brownie's just saying, happy for Fenter. Felix saying, Kubas will bring the defensive line forward. And Humber is great when the team is getting pushed back. He won't have that time and space and ill discipline in the form of a Russian defense here. And Johan's still reckoning that Humber's finished. Michael said, Murat is 26, has been a great captain for Stormers and has played SC under 20. No complaints from me where we need a forward as captain. Jean saying this team is lacking Senna Humber. Going some other ones saying Mooney might still be injured. He is indeed injured. Kieran O'Connor is saying, I have to say, from Ireland, you guys are far too critical of your team beyond the constructive levels. Is that generated by your media? It's a very good question, Kieran. I think we are very, very critical of our side. I put a video out on Sunday, with the Springbok crisis question mark, just looking at the reaction from losing to Ireland. I do think that we are hell of a critic. And even looking at some of the comments now, like it's weird for a side that has won 2 World Cups, has won the British and Irish Lions series, this is a generational Springbok side. It's the most successful Springbok side of all time. And we ripped them apart at the drop of a hat. Quite literally, every single time they lose, bang, not good enough. This player out. It's very, very weird. So, yeah, I do think we are very overly critical. I don't think it's really driven by the media, to be honest. I think some media houses obviously do very much drive a certain agenda and try to do things to generate a buzz. I think most of your reputable journalists are usually hopefully the voices of reason. I try to be a voice of reason. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever a voice of reason. I don't know if there's any even reasons for my voice. But I genuinely like to take a step back and kind of look at things a bit more holistically. I like to sort of be a bit of a glass half full type of person, which is why, as much as I was so upset about Saturday losing, you look at the fashion we lost, you look at certain parts of the game, and I thought, there's reason to be positive here. I didn't watch Saturday and decide, I've got to be really negative because it was just so bad. And, the Bok rugby is finished and yada, yada, yada. I watched Saturday and went, you know what? It was a great game. We didn't play particularly well. Ireland probably outplayed us, yet we probably still should have won, for example. And, that's just the way that the cookie crumbles. Double saying, rather have November over Kobus. Do we need both Fife and Kobus at this point? Moody is still injured. Jean's saying, is both on the Bok fault? No, it doesn't seem to be here. I'm a bit surprised about that. I saw some people having a go at him based on his Bulls semi-final performance, but I think Bruce P has been terrific this season. So yeah, I'm a bit surprised that he's not in the mix. So Sita's saying, is Mosta up for the season? It looked a bit serious. You're planning out for 6 weeks, so it looks like New Zealand will probably be too soon. Might make Argentina towards the end of the Rugby Championship. Hopefully, I think ideally would be back for that second test against the All Blacks. We're going to miss him. I'm going to miss him a lot. Hendrik saying, what is this obsession with Murat? Kieran saying, Irish players are given more license to change tactics and systems on the pitch, take a lot of practice, but SA would be unbeatable if they were given that. I think we are starting to move towards that, to be fair. I think we are going to start seeing us sort of add a bit more of a multifaceted system, especially on attack and defense, which can maybe allow us to be a bit more fluid or flexible in the way we play. It's going to take a while to get things right. But we have to be patient about that, which Springbok fans are not very. If we're being brutally honest, we're not very patient. We want instant results and we want to be winning all the time. We also want to be batting depth. We also want to be moving players out. So we can kind of be overly critical and sometimes not very patient about the whole thing. Ishwin's saying, interesting lineup. This is what we want to see. Take the smaller games to breed in young players and build towards the World Cup. Saying Ruben van Heerden is very unlucky. I agree. I'm surprised he's not involved. As Douglas says, now's not the time to be boasting about junior sides. Yeah, 100%. I think we need to keep very, very quiet. We'll focus on the main team. We'll sort out our juniors in the background, and then we can start piping up a little bit. Most of Bokbar saying, when last did Jan Hendrik Wessels play prop? Sunday. Bulls being wasting his talent as a hooker. He's just not a hooker. Grant Williams is now our number, I'm assuming, one scrum off. I think that we should have seen a bit more Jan Hendrik Wessels at Loosehead, but it is what it are, as some people say. I think maybe he needs to make a move. Come to the Lions. They've given him a long-term contract, but come to the Lions. We'll play you at Loosehead, and you can cook at the Lions. Campus saying Archia should be rested considering how injury prone he is, and also with Mostert out, a need to blood a new 5. Ricardo saying, excited to see Ruan Fenter. He'll fit in the number 8 jersey. I think probably number 7, but yeah. Millionaire Short saying, Q in his class. Been playing with him throughout my school career, and this guy was made to become a Springbok. That must have been a nice situation. Imagine playing with Q Horn and just being like, right, we need a try. Go. Off you go. Score. Do something. And he probably did, special player. I absolutely love watching him. Tep was saying, with Pepsi's athleticism and competition at 8 with Ruiz and Visa, I understand and see Rassie more as a flanker. Yeah, so did the box, to be fair. Hendrik says, the Murat is Rassie's captain for 2027. We are screwed. People said that about Thea. So we'll wait and see. And was saying, why don't Rassie pick Marcel Coetzee? He's much better than some of the Bok Lucy's. I think match fitness probably also an issue over there. Mpulelo saying, from these selections, Wales and Portugal, it feels like Rassie is still exploring the depth rather than putting together the future of the Springboks. Well, I think it's one and the same thing, isn't it, really? You know, you put in a player that you think's ready and they play badly, so they're saying, well, maybe he's not quite cut out or maybe he's not quite ready yet. So you've got to sort of experiment and give players opportunities to be able to really understand what your depth chart genuinely looks like. So yeah, this is building depth. You know, I think this is part of putting together the future of the Springboks. CP News is saying Sasha deserves more game time to showcase himself. Well, he's going to play 4 games. You know, he's one of the few players. In fact, is he not the only player? Him and Kurt de Arendse, I think, are the only, and Arcus Snyman are the only players who have played every single test. Arcus Snyman didn't play against Wales, and Kurt de Arendse didn't play against Wales. So Sasha van Gomez will actually be the only player in this 23 who's played all 4 tests this season. So yeah, maybe he hasn't been getting as much game time, but he's playing every single game, and I think that's almost equally as important as playing just the Portugal game, for example. Sheldon saying, glad to see money on good asset to attacking. Denzel saying, who's injured in the box? Peter Seth, Troy, Franco Mostert, Edwin van der Merwe, Davian Willems, Kenan Moody, Jaden Hendrickson, Jean Klein, Steven Kitsoff. Jasper Wiese is currently suspended. Cameron Harnicorn Penny would be there if he weren't injured. I think that's it. If I remember anybody else, I'll let you know. Tian saying, big game for Evan Lewis. Number 8 position is still up for grabs. Kwaka not quite settled. Yeah, I think we're going to see Kwaka revert probably back to his sort of bench role during the Rugby Championship. I don't think he was necessarily terrible at 8. I think that Ireland in particular are very good at neutralising anybody who's good at the breakdown. I mean, even Malcolm Marx came off. We're talking about one of the best players in the world over the ball and managed 1 turnover. So I think that they played a system which really didn't allow us to compete at the breakdown, and which kind of nullified Kwaka Smith. I mean, he did nothing wrong on Saturday. You know, he took everything under the high ball. He carried up 9 times. He charged down, almost scored, created a try. He had that opportunity with Malcolm Marx where had we actually been a bit better with our support play, we could have scored off the back. So I don't think he was terrible, but I think you kind of got to pick him for certain types of games. And I think that Ireland did so well at nullifying the breakdown that for the large part of the game, he wasn't able to affect the game the way he does when he comes off the bench. Campbell says, when will David Vincent be fit again? Yeah, I don't know, actually. It doesn't really seem to be much progress on him, to be perfectly honest. I'm not quite sure. I mean, it was a thumb injury or finger injury, whatever it was. And he's just gallivanting. My man's in like Paris. My man's traveling the world, getting got a lot of new outfits and stuff on him. Sorry, there aren't 2 new captains. I'll sort that out in a second. I can update that right now. Just a typo in the team graphic. There we go. That's just someone right as captain. So I mean, yeah, we do need David Blinzer back quick fast. Step in front of space and Cameron Harnicorn, a must at number 8. Hope he recovers soon. Yeah, I think he's probably the closest we've got to a Dwayne Famine replacement in terms of the physicality, the breakdown work, the ball carrying. Still think he's got a lot to learn from a defensive and positional point of view, as well as, you know, work under the high ball, under pressure, because that's just something that comes with time. But has everything in his arsenal to be a genuine international number 8. So yeah, very, very keen to see when he does get involved, how he does go. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of time before we do see that. But yeah, any other comments? Yeah, we're going to start wrapping up a little bit. We've been going for just under half an hour. We'll wrap it up on the half an hour mark. We will be live once again on Thursday, by the way, to pick this team apart a bit more. And I think somebody's talking about having no fetchers. Kroblar is very good over the ball. Evan Lewis, I think, is Pes Boutelaise, I think, will be tasked with trying to do a bit more fetching. And then off the bench, Andrew Hugo Fenter is decent over the ball. Trevor Nyakane, funny enough, actually, is somebody who enjoys a poach or 2. But interesting to see, what's the breakdown work going to be, for example. And are we going to see a player sort of being given those roles on the day? People, please do smash like on the video on the way out, by the way, as we wrap up. There's always a very big proportion between, how many people are watching, for example, and the number of likes. So please get in the habit of just liking the video. It costs you actually nothing. It does help us a little bit. Arya and I'm Zodiac saying injuries are a blessing and a curse. Allow the adaptable, as we will need a good replacement with 7 for a few games. Yeah, 100%. That's why I think Ben Jason Dixon is in for a big game this weekend, because he can very much put himself in that sort of front running spot to be the next sort of the Peter Steph toy replacement. Kappa saying Villiers had 2 big concussions very close to each other. How many before they are at serious risk not allowed to play anymore? There is a whole sort of system. I'm not entirely sure what it is. But yeah, I'm sure we would have been stood down and won't be involved in the next few weeks. They do take it very, very seriously, so I'm sure he'll be managed very, very well. But anyway, we're gonna wrap up there, people. We will again. I said we will be back on Thursday with another live show. We will have the Rassie Erasmus press conference up very, very shortly, and that'll be up literally in the next few minutes. So all the questions you've been asking me, hopefully he can answer a few of those. So we'll see you guys all then. And yeah, we'll have content throughout the week. We're going to have press conference tomorrow from the box. So press conference on Friday as usual. We're in Bloemfontein. I'm currently in Bloemfontein, by the way. I'm absolutely freaking freezing. It was minus 6 degrees in the car driving here today. It was disgustingly cold. So not happy. Was not happy with how things went. But we are here, and we're going to train later, so we'll be able to see some of the new faces, for example, on the training field. It'll be very cool to see that. So yeah, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching.